Hi everyone, Maitre D of the Savoy Grill here with Rhyme Signatures, nerdiest music review this side of Hampton Court Palace on a bank holiday weekend. Today we're going to be doing a review of the new Wilderun album, Epigone. Now, for those not in the know, Wilderun are a progressive folk metal band formed in Massachusetts, USA, and they're coming to us now with their fourth full-length album. The band has really been making a great name for themselves within the prog metal community, especially over the last few years, with their second and third albums, Sleep at the Edge of the Earth and Veil of Imagination, both of which have really taken listeners on an absolutely first-class, outstanding journey through some of the best music we've had in recent years. My own personal album of the year for 2019 was, in fact, the aforementioned Veil of Imagination, so I went into approaching Epigone with no small amount of hype. Kind of excited for it, you know. So, 2022 kicks us off with the first major release that we've had, and we start things off quite delicately with the opening track, Exhaler. Takes us forward with a nice, simple, quite driven acoustic guitar melody before vocalist and guitar player Evan Anderson Berry cuts in with his truly excellent, soft and delicate vocals as things slowly but surely move towards more complex and layered orchestrations with strings building on top of the folk melodies to create a really strong atmosphere of hope and a bit of nostalgia in that as well. Clocking in at a shade over 14 minutes long, this feels like quite a typical Wilderun song at first, but it manages to identify itself as something sufficiently different from their previous albums. The difference becomes quite evident over the runtime of Woolgatherer, which is that Wilderun are a band that seem to be increasingly using their heavy and brutal passages to accent and break up the more melodic and cleaner passages of music, rather than the other way around, which was what it felt like was more the case for their sound in their earlier works. I do feel that Woolgatherer does suffer a bit from being the weakest principal track on the album, though, as despite a few strong moments where the band really does shine as a unit, it's unfortunately quite an unmemorable song, to be honest, lacking any real distinct hooks or through lines. It's by no means a bad song, but perhaps not as strong a showcase as the leading song on the album, as it mostly meanders through some admittedly interesting ideas, but it never really manages to become a song that makes you just want to punch the air and yell along with the vocals like Far From Where Dreams Unfurl from their previous record Veil of Imagination did. The heavy moments on this song are absolutely stunning, however, but as mentioned earlier, it definitely feels like they're taking less and less focus of Wilderun's music. And honestly, as good as Berry's clean vocals are, I do find myself wishing he would tap into this raw, primal energy a lot more often than he actually does. I mean, I've not heard a singer capable of blending these light and dark moments like this since Opeth's Mikael Åkerfeldt did on classics such as Blackwater Park and Ghost Reveries. The Opeth comparisons don't really end there either, as the folksy acoustic guitar passages wouldn't really feel out of place on a record like Damnation or even on Watershed. Moving on to Passenger, however, we waste no time blasting into a really powerful riff before kicking into a catchy vocal hook with some intricate and interesting guitar work underlining it. This track feels like the band are definitely having a lot of fun, and this energy really carries itself throughout the song. Berry's growls come in around about halfway, but this time you find them accented by some stunning, absolutely stunning female vocals, which really just serve to highlight how dark and vicious his growls really are. The song crescendos, as you would expect from Wilderun, wonderfully, and the last minute really does its best to dislocate my aging neck muscles with some truly excellent headbanging music. We move smoothly into what I personally feel is the album's crowning jewel, Identifier. It starts quite softly, but Wilderun wastes little time in setting up a big sound and signals a real, palpable confidence with what they've created. Wayne Ingram's guitar lines and solos are absolutely blistering on this track, and this really cements him as a fantastic talent within the genre, and definitely a man to keep an eye on as Wilderun's career grows over the coming years. Influences from other artists do continue to pop up on this track especially, with a bridge that feels like a love letter to British darlings of the genre, Haken. It feels respectful and genuine though, and it does fit beautifully within the context of the song. Wilderun continue to show themselves as masters of the musical climax, however, as Identifier ends on this huge, swelling, emotional vocal line that just erupts into these savage, guttural growls, which are guaranteed just to make you want to just roar alongside them, you know, if it wouldn't really just destroy your throat muscles like it would for me. The album does take a bit of an odd turn, however, with the transitional track Ambition. It feels more like a roadblock in the middle of things rather than a real organic ebb and flow into the rest of the music. And it really hit me with some serious tonal whiplash. It didn't really truly fit with the album as a whole. It's a curiously sci-fi sounding piece that sort of juts out at an odd angle to the otherwise folk metal styling of the album as a whole. I mean, it's perfectly fine, taken in isolation, but with an album that feels so focused on the whole, it's an odd inclusion and not one I can honestly say that I truly enjoy. Nevertheless, it's a brief 2.5 minutes, and it doesn't really detract too much from what came before, and what's still to come from the album. Speaking of which, we find ourselves now facing the truly excellent 4-part Distraction suite. This builds up slowly and elegantly, the band really taking their time to allow the song to steep and develop organically before unleashing this huge, bombastic, layered vocal lines, before it dives headlong into this stunning orchestra work with Berry's guttural low tones once again serving as a perfect contrast. The riffs just keep on coming, and the suite just keeps on growing in terms of its theatricality and its ambition, and as the orchestra continues to provide this outstanding backbone to the compositions. I do remember quite fondly as a teenager listening to Metallica's S&M for the very first time, which I feel was probably the first time I was really exposed to just how good an orchestra can sound with a heavy metal band. And I kind of get similar vibes in this place from just how well and how tastefully done the fusion of the two has been done on Epigone. The album does come to a brilliant, savage and explosive close, but before we can call it a night and go home, we get treated to a genuinely brilliant cover of Everything in Its Right Place by Radiohead, off, of course, the inimitable album Kid A. Wilderun managed to make this song their own, but whilst obviously remaining respectful to the original, which, frankly, is exactly what a cover version should really be setting out to achieve, and I feel that Wilderun have done this beautifully here. Ultimately, Epigone feels like it's a natural evolution of the Wilderun sound, in the same way that Veil of Imagination was over Sleep at the Edge of the Earth. Some diehard fans might not enjoy the increased focus on clean vocals and the grand sweeping orchestra, taking more of a focus than in previous records, but this definitely feels like an excellent starting point for people new to the band. I mean, I personally do like Sleep at the Edge of the Earth, their second album, most of all, but this is nevertheless another excellent addition to Wilderun's arsenal. Perhaps with a little bit of trimming, removal of the ultimately forgettable Ambition, and with some more memorable hooks, this would have been a true bona fide classic. For now, however, this is simply a very good record that falls just inches short of true greatness. But it makes for a very encouraging statement as to Wilderun's future and the direction the band is heading in. This is all, of course, my opinion. So tell me what you thought of the record in the comments below. If you like this video, please do share it with anyone if you think they might enjoy it, and please also consider subscribing for more content. Until next time, keep your rhyme signatures odd.